Hey there everyone, Dave Walker, your Connect guru, back with some more thoughts on how Adobe Connect compares with Webex. Let's visit a Webex meeting room and check it out. So, this is Webex. On the right, we see our panels. There is a participants panel, a chat panel, and a recorder panel. And if you're sharing a PowerPoint file, you'll also see a PowerPoint Notes panel in here. You can hide and show the panels by clicking on these tabs at the top. One of the things that surprised me was the absence of a polling panel. I looked for the ability to do poll questions. I searched on Google and Bing, and of course on the Webex site, and though the information was not easy to come by, I deduced that you don't get the ability to do polls unless you upgrade to the Webex Training or Webex Events products. With Adobe Connect, every meeting room comes with the ability to have poll questions. One of the first things I noticed that is done differently in Webex is webcam video. Webcam video is part of the participant panel. Apparently, every participant can turn on his or her video feed, and the host has no control over this capability. Again, it seems that you have to upgrade to Webex Training or Webex Events to have this kind of control. And by the way, the same thing seems to be true of audio. Any participant can turn on their computer audio during your presentations and start talking. Having conducted many webinars and training sessions, I can tell you this is a bad thing. If participants can do some of these things, it's a certainty that sooner or later, some will. In Webex, there's a primary video, which shows whoever is speaking. If a different person speaks, the primary video automatically switches to that person's video. If you turn on your own webcam, a thumbnail of you will appear at the lower right corner of the video area. So in this mode, you only ever see the person who is speaking and your own thumbnail. To see all videos, you have two options. You can click this button at the upper right, which will put your videos into full screen mode and show all of the videos below the host video. Unfortunately, in this view, you can't see the presentation, and each participant must select this setting for themselves. So the presenter can never really be certain that the presentation is actually being watched. The third option is to change the participant panel view setting to thumbnail, which shows each participant's video instead of just their name. In Connect, you control who can use their webcam. By hovering the mouse pointer over the participant's name, you can select to enable their video. And all videos are visible in the video pod, which is not limited to a particular section of the screen. Instead, you can control how much space in the meeting room will be dedicated to video by resizing the video window. You can stretch it horizontally, vertically, or both. When someone is speaking, a blue border appears around their video. By the way, with Webex, you're limited to a total of 6 video feeds. In Adobe Connect, you can have as many video feeds as your bandwidth will support. Another difference between Webex and Adobe Connect is that in Webex, you're only allowed one host and one presenter at a time. You can make someone else the presenter by dragging this little green and blue ball to that attendee's name in the participant panel, hence the expression, pass the ball. The presenter is the person who is able to upload content and switch between the various items that have been uploaded by clicking on these tabs at the top of the presentation area. When I do pass the ball, I'm no longer able to do any of the things a presenter does. So, as a host, once I've made someone else the presenter, my ability to assist by uploading additional files, for example, goes away. In Adobe Connect, you can have as many hosts and as many presenters as you want or need in order to conduct the session, and they can work together to make sure your meeting is a success. Presenters can upload their own content or ask others to upload it for them. Additional presenters can help you answer questions that are entered into the Q&A pod, and additional hosts can help you get your files uploaded into the meeting room and prepare layouts with polls, videos, PDFs, PowerPoints, and additional pods or layouts. Connect even lets you do these kinds of activities behind the scenes while the meeting is going on. So if you're presenting something to participants, another host can go behind the scenes and upload another file that you'll need in another part of the presentation, and get everything set up for you even while you're conducting your presentation. One feature of Webex that I do like is the ability to upload and share Word and Excel documents. In Connect, you've got to convert them to PDF files first, and then upload and share the PDF. Speaking of hosts and presenters, in Webex, there is no place where the host and presenter can collaborate privately. In Connect, there is a presenter-only area where we can have things like agendas, private chat, web links we want to push to the users, Q&A administration, and any number of things we want to have handy during our presentation, all of which will be completely hidden from the participants in the meeting unless you drag them into the visible part of the meeting room. And that's not the only Adobe Connect functionality for which there's no equivalent in Webex. I already mentioned polls. Then there's Q&A functionality, and this is different from chat. Connect's Q&A gives the host and presenter much more control over what the participants see. The Connect Web Links pod allows you to push attendees to websites and other online resources, or let them make that selection themselves. And the Connect Notes pod allows you to display text inside the meeting room for things like audio information, instructions, reminders, and so forth. And of course, I have to include layouts for organizing this content into logical chunks and setting it up for presentation as pre-configured content. Webex doesn't have anything like layouts. When it comes to the chat panel, it's pretty simple. But in Webex, the chat panel has to be used for multiple purposes. What do I mean by that? Well, it's obvious that we would use the chat for chatting, but since Webex doesn't have any kind of note pod where we can provide information for the participant that will always be on the screen and visible, we have to use the chat panel for those messages, and they scroll off the screen when subsequent chat messages are posted. Webex doesn't offer a Q&A option either, so we have to use the chat pod for that as well. It would help if we had more than one chat panel, then we could designate one for just chat and another for audience questions, but that's not possible in Webex. By the way, multiple instances of pods is totally doable in Connect, so you could have several chat pods open at once where participants can be commenting about different subjects in each chat pod. Here's another thing I noticed about Webex. When you're sharing a file like a PowerPoint or Word document, it seems the drawing tools are automatically turned on for anyone. In other words, any participant can start marking up your document in the middle of your presentation, and you have no control. The only thing you can do is kick that person out of the meeting. Ouch. Obviously, I don't think that's a very good feature. Maybe I'm just a control freak, but doesn't that seem to you like it could be a bit of a nuisance? When it comes to sharing files for download, Webex provides the file transfer window. This gets the job done, but I'm not a big fan. Like the files you want to share for viewing, you have to upload the files every time you open the meeting. Not only that, but even if you close the file transfer window and open it back up, you'll have to reselect the files you want to share. You can't even select the files that are already in your Webex library. You have to search your system or network every time you want to share files for download. Also, to use the file transfer window, you have to cover up something else in the meeting room. And you can only have one file transfer window open at a time. With Connect, you can use the File Share pod to share files for download. You can either select from files you've already uploaded to the Connect server, or you can select files from your computer. Once the File Share pod is populated with files, you never have to reload them. They'll all be there the next time you have a meeting in this meeting room. Also, you can have more than one File Share pod. This allows you to organize your files into logical groupings. One interesting feature of Webex is that when your meeting is over, it gives you the option to send an email to each of the participants allowing them to visit the meeting space, where they can get access to any files you shared or the recording of the meeting. I kind of like this feature, although I would rather it included the files in the Transfer Files window instead of the files that I shared for viewing, or at least give me options for both. And finally, and I've danced around this point a couple of times already without addressing it specifically, but because of its highly structured environment, Webex doesn't give the host any flexibility on how to present information. Let me give you an example. Let's say I need to keep my slide presentation on the screen and at the same time show a video. Webex doesn't let me do that. I can only share one file at a time. In Connect, I can simply add a new share pod and bring my video into that share pod while my presentation is still on the screen. If I decide to add a poll question at the same time, I can do so without having to hide the chat, attendees, or video pods. I can resize and move any of the pods in the meeting room. In fact, using layouts, I can even create a layout with exactly the elements I need to display, and when it's time to show them, simply switch to that layout. With Connect, I can dictate the structure of the meeting room instead of being locked into the cookie-cutter interface. I was going to make the point that any data collected in a Webex meeting beyond the basic attendee information is not saved, but then I realized there is no polling data to save because there are no polls. There's no session data to save because you can't reuse your meeting room. Thus, there are not multiple sessions. And there's no Q&A data because there's no Q&A. So really, it's a moot point. There is chat text, and you'll have to copy that text and paste it into another application if you want to save it. And make sure you do that before you end your meeting, or else it'll all disappear like a puff of smoke. In Connect, everything in the meeting room is automatically saved. Even after the meeting ends, you can open it back up and retrieve your chat, polls, notes, and Q&A data. Additionally, poll data is saved in a database on the Connect account, so you never lose your polling data. Okay, one last thing I want to mention in this episode is that I did not find any way to customize or brand the Webex meeting room or login page. With Connect, you can set text and background colors for your login page, and even add a large logo for your organization. You can change the colors of various features inside the meeting rooms, and even add a custom background image that displays behind your pods. In the next episode, I want to talk a little about the mobile applications of Adobe Connect and Webex to find out which is the better option. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to be advised of our next video, and use the info on the screen to contact me. See you next time.